Golden State Media Concepts social media podcast. Time to hashtag everything with
Mariano
and Pauline.
Hashtag Pauliano. We talk about all the fun, crazy stories on social media, from Instagram to Facebook, Twitter to Tumblr, or probably even Friendster. Join us each week as we explore the quirky side of social media. It's the Golden State Media Concepts social media podcast.
It's simple, such a sad song. The one that we rely on to get us.
Hello and welcome to the GSMC Social Media News Podcast. I am your host, Sarah, and today's episode is brought to you by AdamandEve.com, where for a limited time only, you will receive 50% off just about any item on their website. Just go to AdamandEve.com, type in the promo code SMP at checkout, and you'll receive 50% off of just about any item on their website. Again, that's SMP, Think Social Media Podcast. Again, welcome to the episode. It is wonderful to join you again today and talk about some things that are going on in the world of social media. I'm wondering how your Halloween went, if you did anything fun, if you stayed home, if you passed out candy, if you, well, hopefully didn't just pass out, but if you did anything, if you dressed up. We had a pretty quiet Halloween around my house for a variety of reasons, and we didn't end up getting any candy. My husband normally goes all out for Halloween. He loves Halloween, and he will get full-size candy bars or movie theater-size candy boxes, and he'll show a movie on the side of the house, and he just goes all out. He loves it, but he's been not feeling well the past few weeks, so decided to just kind of lay low and didn't end up getting any candy either. So we were that household that turned off our lights, and we were very, very boring. Normally I love seeing the kids and seeing all the costumes and everything. So it was really fun to go on social media and see all of the Facebook posts that my friends were posting of their children, and see all of the costumes. I didn't notice any particular trends in my friends' costumes, at least this year. There was a variety. I had a friend who has twins who are 4, and they wanted to be peregrine falcons, and they had the most adorable costumes. And then their 8-month baby brother, who is just a chub, was the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. So they were awfully cute. There were the usual assortment of Star Wars characters and superheroes, which I always like. My nieces, who are, how old are they now? 18 and 15. Wow. No, 17 and 14. That's better. They're 17 and 14. Let's go with that. Even if they are 18 and 15, which they're not. So they are 17 and 14, and they're involved in the drama club at school. And the drama club each year puts on a haunted house. And so this year they were the guides to the haunted house, and they dressed as the twins from The Shining. People think they're twins all the time, even though they are 3 years apart. So it was perfect, and they looked great. So, I hope you had a great Halloween. Like I said, ours was quiet, but I enjoyed seeing everybody's posts. That's one of my favorite things about social media, is that it connects me in ways that I might not otherwise be connected to people that I don't get to see all the time. So I grew up in Montana. My family's all still there. I live in California. I don't get to go home as much as I would like to. So being able to see pictures on Facebook of my friends and my family, especially my nieces, it really helps. So for that reason, I am thankful for social media. And speaking of being thankful for social media, it is now November 3rd already. Can you believe it? This year has just flown by, but it is November, which means that many people on social media, whether that's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, what have you, they often do the 30 days of thankfulness or 30 days of thanks, or however they hashtag it. And I like this. I think this is a fun way to just remind ourselves of the good things that we have in our lives, because the news these days is not positive. And even when it is positive, we don't often see it, right? Because depressing news, scandal, etc., gets better ratings, I would think, then we tend to hear more of that on the 24-hour news cycles. And I'm not here to judge the 24-hour news cycles. I'm just saying that that tends to be how it is. So when you watch the news, it can be really, really depressing, and it can remind us that things are really crappy in the world. And if we only focus on that, we can start to wallow in the depression and the ick of the world. So I appreciate this 30 days of thankfulness, and that people are deliberately taking the time each day to post what they are thankful for. I have some friends who are doing it on Facebook and they're just posting a statement. I have some friends who are doing it on Instagram, and so they're posting a picture along with their statement of why they are thankful. I'm actually doing it this year for the first time. I never remember for some reason, even though people start posting on the 1st of November, for some reason my brain doesn't click in till like 3 or 4 days later when I go, oh, I should have started. And I could start 3 or 4 days later. I mean, there's no rule against it, right? But I just think, well, I missed it already. So this year I actually remembered on the 1st of November, and I am doing the one with pictures. So uploading to Instagram and posting what I am thankful for. That's my personal Instagram rather than the social media Instagram. I should do it there too. Can I start it on the 3rd of November, or will that get me in trouble? Am I going to get in trouble by the social media police who say this is the 3rd of November and you did not start in time? I really hope not. So that leads me to the question of what are the things that you are thankful for? Obviously, November is the month of Thanksgiving. That's why we do it this month. And some families have that tradition of going around the table and talking about what they are thankful for. And depending on the age and everything, you get a lot of different answers. Family, friends, the family dog, etc. One year, one of my nieces said she was thankful for mashed potatoes, I think, because they were on the plate in front of her and she didn't want to come up with a quote-unquote real answer. And hey, maybe she is thankful for mashed potatoes. Maybe they just make her happy in ways that fill her tummy with warm mashed potato-y goodness. But what are the things that you would put on there besides friends and family, which are obviously really, really good ones? I was thankful for the rain the other day because it's starting to be a little bit of the rainy season here, which we need. I'm thankful that I didn't post this, but it just occurred to me right now that I could say I'm thankful that I'm not currently living in Montana because it has been snowing there since Wednesday. So Halloween was over and the snow came. They like to change seasons there rapidly, apparently. So although I would be thankful for the snow because it is putting out the fires finally. The fires were mostly out, but they can smolder. Those forest fires, those wildfires can smolder for a long time. So what are you thankful for? I would love to hear from you on social media. We are on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr. And Twitter, we are GSMC_S Media. So GSMC_S Media. Facebook, we are Golden State Media Concepts Social Media Podcast. Yeah, that's a mouthful, I know, but it will come up if you just start typing in Golden State Media Concepts. You should be able to see all of our Facebook pages. And Instagram, we are also GSMC_S Media. So we would love to hear from you if you would love to share what you're thankful for. And, or you can just hashtag the 30 days of thankfulness or however you do it, because then everyone would be able to find it. But I would love to hear from you on social media because I just need that pick-me-up in my day. I need to post it for myself to remind myself why things aren't as bad as they might sometimes feel. But it also helps to see what other people are posting and hear what other people are thankful for and what they see as the good in the world. It really helps to see the good in the world. And if I am thankful for social media for anything, it is really that. And you can argue that people sometimes don't present their true selves on social media. They only post the good. They only post the artfully staged photos, or they post pictures of their children when they're cleaned up and they don't have food in their hair and those sorts of things. And that's an argument. But in terms of what I was talking about, pictures of kids on Halloween things that you're thankful for, things that you can go on and see the life and the vibrancy of the world, especially when things feel like it's just one horrible news story after another. We need a little brightness in this world, I think, sometimes. And if you can get that from social media, excellent. So we are going to take our first break of the podcast. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back with some more social media news. Hey, social media listeners, are you looking to spice things up in the bedroom? Have you been fantasizing about surprising your lover with, I don't know, an adventurous new toy or some new adult movies? Whatever it is, here's an offer that you won't be able to resist. Go to adamandeve.com, and for a limited time only, you will get 50% off of just about any item on their website. But that's not all. No, when you select your one item at 50% off, you will also receive 3 free adult DVDs. You know, for that little inspiration, maybe a little, well, let's just go with inspiration, okay? So a little inspiration plus a free extra gift that is so sensual, I really can't even mention it on this podcast. Nope, you're not going to make me. But to top it all off, they are going to give you free shipping on your entire order. No, they aren't kidding. Just check out adamandeve.com today for this special offer. You're going to get 50% off one item when you type SMP, Think Social Media Podcast, for the offer code upon checkout. When you do, you're going to get that 50% off. You're going to get those 3 free DVDs. You're going to get that free extra gift and free shipping. Just use that offer code of SMP Social Media Podcast at adamandeve.com. That's SMP, S for social, M for media, P for podcast, at adamandeve.com. Welcome back to the GSMC Social Media Podcast. We are talking today about, well, social media. Imagine that. And before the break, we were talking about the 30 Days of Thankfulness, one of the trending hashtags in the month of November. And now I want to look at, an interesting story. I don't know if it's funny or frightening, but I'm sure you heard that this week, President Trump's Twitter account was deactivated for a grand total of 11 minutes. So at first they were just saying that it was a mistake, that something had happened, but they'd gotten it fixed. And so for 11 minutes, his email account, or his Twitter account was deactivated. Come to find out, it was actually an employee whose last day it was at Twitter, and he deactivated the account. Now, this isn't a political podcast, so I'm not going to be getting into any debates on, the president or anything else. He's very active on Twitter. Whether you love him or hate him, he is very active on Twitter. And so, some people were horrified. Some people thought it was hilarious. Just kind of depends on your point of view. And I think, holy cow, that Twitter employee certainly had some balls, pardon my French. Yeah, I know balls isn't French, but that employee certainly had some cojones to do that. I don't think I would ever even possibly I might consider it, but I'd never actually go through with something crazy like that. But then it makes me think, are we a little concerned about security in terms of the President of the United States being so active on social media? Whatever you think of him and whatever you think about his tweets, should it be so easy for any, and I don't know the level of security that this employee had, I should probably look into that further, but to just be able to deactivate anyone's account is crazy enough, but to be able to deactivate the account of the President of the United States, and if you can deactivate it that easily, can you get in a mess with it that easily? I mean, this just seems like there's some major security issues going on here. So for the most part, I bring it up because that is kind of a crazy story to be happening in the world of social media. I mean, the things that you may never even think of as the world changes, right? 50 years ago, obviously we didn't have social media, so we weren't worried about somebody's Twitter account being broken into or hacked or turned off. We were worried more about phones being tapped or those sorts of things. So as technology changes, as our lives change, it's really interesting to see the issues that come up with those changes, right? We're constantly having to stay alert, stay on top of things, figure out what's going on in the world, and you can ignore it, but it doesn't mean it's going to go away. It's going to still be out there and it's going to be prevalent in society. So I just thought it was a really interesting story, one that made me first go, oh my gosh, and then another one that made me go, wait, this seems like it could be a major issue. So, whatever you think of anything in terms of politics, it's still an interesting story that A, someone would do that, and B, that someone would be able to do that. So kind of crazy. Do you remember that this Sunday marks the end of daylight savings time? Yes, Saturday night before you go to bed, or if you actually want to do it at 2 a.m. Sunday morning, which is when it officially happens. That's when it will happen on your cell phones or your computers that are already programmed to do it for you. You have to turn your clocks back an hour. So spring forward, fall back. Easy way to remember it. And a daylight savings time is trending on social media as people talk about, they put out the reminders to set your clocks back so that you're not, let's see, are you late or early if you set your clock, if you don't remember it. So if your clock says it's 7, but it's really 6, you're going to be early in the fall. So, no, you're going to be late. You're going to be late in the fall because if your clock says it's 7, you're thinking you're on time. Something starts at 7 and you get there and it really started an hour earlier. Yeah. So remember to set your clocks back because you don't want to be late. But I just think that people come up with some of the funniest, silliest, most ridiculous memes when it comes to daylight savings time. Well, really anything, but in this case, I'm talking about daylight savings time. And so there's a lot of GIFs and pictures of, people sleeping because you do, in theory, get that extra hour of sleep. I know for me, I think I'm going to get that extra hour of sleep, but it's 11 o'clock at night. I turn the clocks back an hour. It says 10, and then I'm like, oh, I get an extra hour of reading. So, yay, an extra hour of reading because I love to read, but doesn't necessarily translate to an extra hour of sleep for me. And it does translate into it getting dark an hour earlier, which is not always so fun. But I think my favorite meme that I have seen, and it comes up, it's been coming up for a few years now, but it's a picture of Cher, and it says, "Don't forget to turn back time," which of course is one of her songs. And then it says, "Share," so other people will know something about, share, but it's not SHARE, but CHER. CHER. It's a visual thing, and I know I'm not describing it terribly well, but I think it's just, a funny, silly, clever play on words because it is, her song, Turn Back Time, and her name is, it does rhyme, not rhyme, but it sounds the same as the word share, even though it's not spelled the same. Yeah, sorry, that kind of fell flat. I do apologize, but I do like a good meme. I do like people who are creative enough to come up with clever word plays. And see, that's another thing that I am thankful about social media for, is that you can just go on and look at silly pictures and silly wordplay and enjoy something. But it's also helpful, right? It also reminds you, hey, guess what? We have to turn the clocks back this weekend. So on the one hand, we used to have to make sure we checked our calendars to know when it was. But on the other hand, now we don't really have to worry about it so much because most of us just check our phones for the time, right? I mean, I do wear a watch and I check that frequently, but if I am concerned about my watch being incorrect, I'm definitely going to check my phone for confirmation. So if the phones ever get screwed up and don't change in the spring or the fall, then I'm going to be in trouble because I'm not going to know what time it is. All I'm saying is daylight savings time coming to an end. Fall back turn your clocks back an hour on Sunday so that you're not, Saturday night, early Sunday morning, so that you're not late for church on Sunday or whatever it is that you do Sunday morning. Work, if you're working, you don't want to be late for work. No. And if you need help, then go online and look at silly memes about turning your clock back, because that's fun, right? Or maybe not. Maybe I just think it's fun. I'm babbling, so I'm going to stop. We are going to take our second break of the podcast, and when we come back, we'll be wrapping it up here at the GSMC Social Media News Podcast. Stay tuned.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Social Media News Podcast. Before the break, we were talking about daylight savings time and remembering to set your clock back an hour this coming Sunday night, or Sunday morning, Saturday night before you go to bed, if that's the way you do it. And now I want to talk about a hashtag that I just learned the meaning of. And that's one of the crazy things about hashtags sometimes, is that you see them, but if you aren't in the loop, you don't necessarily know what they mean. And I kept seeing it and hearing it because I also host the GSMC book review podcast. So I interview a lot of authors, which is a lot of fun. I love it. And they have often referenced NaNoWriMo. And then I keep seeing it. Then I started seeing it more and more on social media, especially on the book review podcast social media. And so I finally Googled it, and it actually stands for National Novel Writing Month. NaNoWriMo. N-A, National, No, N-O, Novel, R-I-W, did I spell it right? No, W-R-I, Writing Month, M-O. So NaNoWriMo. It turns out that it is a, it's just an internet community that gets together once a year you can write a novel in a month. Or, it just encourages you to write every day and to post your word count and use that hashtag NaNoWriMo so that you can connect with other authors who are also writing during the month. There is a giant map of the world on their website and gives the total word count for the year. You can click on it and see how many words have been written in, as specific as, I just ran it over Montana, of course, because I have a soft place in my heart for that, and it shows Kalispell and Missoula, 2 towns in Montana, and you can see how many words have been written in the month so far, how many novelists are participating in those locations. So it's kind of cool. If you've ever thought about writing a novel, you could maybe use this. Or, even if you aren't writing a novel, it's still encouraging to have this time set aside to keep track of your word count, to meet other writers in person or online, or maybe in person, to track your progress. You can go on there and kind of vent your frustrations or share your celebrations. I just think it's fascinating that this is set up, and this is another thing that I like about social media. Another thing that I'm thankful about social media for is how it does bring people together in some ways. You could be part of NaNoWriMo and start chatting with people that are on the other side of the world, or that are, or closer to home, but you had never met before. And maybe you find someone who is in your area who is also writing, and you get to then connect with them. If it's only online, that's one thing, but maybe you meet them in person. And so you find people with common interests. And, there have been groups forever that are around that you can find, but it's easier than ever to connect with people who share similar interests as you because of the internet now, right? And so social media allows us to connect with one another and find people who share those interests, find people who have done the things that we would like to do and who can advise us on those things. So National Novel Writing Month is described as a fun, seat-of-your-pants approach to creative writing. So it says, on November 1st, participants begin working towards the goal of writing a 50,000-word novel by 11:59 p.m. on November 30th. Valuing enthusiasm, determination, and a deadline, NaNoWriMo is for anyone who has ever thought about writing a novel. And so I'm not saying that you need to go out and write a novel, but if you've ever thought about writing a novel, this might be a way to do it. This might be a way to get into it and just jump in and start writing and see where it goes. And then post with your hashtag and see who responds and see who you connect with. Get some inspiration, get pep talks, there's coaches, there's all kinds of fun things. And I just find this a fascinating example of ways that you can connect with people on the internet that you might not have been able to connect before. So if you are a fan of books and have ever thought about writing a novel, then this might be something that you might be interested in, and you should check it out. Hey, speaking of books, did you know that tomorrow is National Book Lovers Day? So if you need an excuse to stay in and read, I think that's a perfectly valid excuse. The other things that are going on this weekend in terms of, I love those random funny daily calendars that you can make a national holiday for just about anything. Today happens to be National Sandwich Day. You may have, I've actually seen multiple tweets on that today with the hashtag National Sandwich Day. So makes me ask you the question, what's your favorite sandwich? Did you have a favorite sandwich growing up? And I will tell you the story that makes my mother roll her eyes every time I tell it, because it happened once. I would admit it only happened once, and I'm still giving her crap to this day, only because I love her. So growing up, I loved grilled cheese, and my mom would make grilled cheese and tomato soup. And one night she was making grilled cheese for the whole family. There were 3 kids, so 5 of us in the family. So she was kind of making them assembly line, right? And I sat down for dinner and I took a giant, I dunked my sandwich in my tomato soup, as I love to do. And I took a giant bite and it was toast. There was no cheese in it. So I love to give my mother crap about no cheese in my grilled cheese sandwich. And yeah, it happened literally once, but that's just apparently the kind of snotty family we are, and we don't let people live things down. And so that reminds me that I need to call my mother on National Sandwich Day, and she can reach through the phone and smack me, metaphorically. A, because it's through the phone, and B, because she wouldn't actually do that. So today on Friday, November 3rd, it is also Cliche Day. So I encourage you to use as many cliches as you humanly can as in the time that you have left of this day. Let's see what's happening for the rest of the weekend, just so you can plan your weekend accordingly, right? Tomorrow, as I said, is Book Lovers Day. It's Digital Scrapbooking Day. It's Learn to Homebrew Day. Hey, there you go. The first Saturday of November is Learn to Homebrew. It's also National Candy Day. So get yourself some candy and sit down with your book and just go to town and read. Oh, National Wine Tasting Day. Also candy and wine. There you go. Candy, wine, and books. It's also National Bison Day, which is also the first Saturday of November. And I grew up not far from the National Bison Range, so it makes me wonder if they do anything on National Bison Range. But since I'm now over 1,000 miles away, I guess I won't be finding out. Sunday, what can you do on Sunday? Sunday oh, well, it's bank transfer day. So unless your bank's open on Sunday, you're not going to be able to do anything on Sunday. Sunday is also National Love Your Red Hair Day, which is lovely. All of you redheads out there, or gingers, as you seem to have become known over time. It's also National Donut Appreciation Day. So candy tomorrow, Saturday, and then donuts on Sunday. What could be better? So those are the things that you can look forward to this weekend. All of those lovely, silly holidays that come up, because anyone can create a holiday and get it on the calendar, apparently. If you could create a holiday, what would it be? What would you name your holiday for? I mean, I already have National Book Lovers Day, so can't complain about that. There's a couple of chocolate days throughout the year, so I'm pretty fond of those. What would be your favorite holiday? Does it already exist? If it doesn't exist and you could create it, what would it be? Let me know. Find me on social media and tell me, because this is the Social Media News Podcast, and I would love to hear from you. So I'm going to wrap this one up for this week, but I hope you'll join me next week when we talk about whatever's going on in the world of social media next week. That's the fun thing about this podcast. I can't say join me next week when we'll talk about X, Y, and Z, because X, Y, and Z won't have happened yet. Unless I can learn to time travel. So I'm going to go work on that. See if I can learn to time travel. You go work on whatever it is you're going to celebrate this weekend in terms of those crazy national holidays. And I hope that you will join me again next time for the Social Media News Podcast. In the meantime, you can find all of our podcasts at www.gsmcpodcast.com. You can download those podcasts on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher, and any app you use for your mobile device. And you can find us on social media. I would hope so, since this is about social media. We are on Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, and Instagram, and we would love to hear from you. Hope you have a great week, and hope you'll join us again next time. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Social Media Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.